Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Market Trade Group, and today is Tuesday, June 1st, so first day of the month. Overall, I would say a little bit of a tricky day. We'll go over some of the moves within sectors and some of the individual movers for the day. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. This video is for education purposes only. Also, if the video is a bit blurry, it's just because YouTube has not finished the high def rendering of the video. Just give it a little bit more time. So what do we kind of have for the day? SPY finished just down slightly, 10 basis points. Qs finished down a little bit more, down 33 basis points. And where the real outperformance was, once again, was in the small caps. They were up 1.1%. And if it wasn't for that, for the overall indices, it was kind of a difficult day to trade. We'll kind of leave it there. But so small caps finished up 1.1%. TLT finished down just slightly for the day. I'm seeing a different number in my trading system, but that's all right. I think it was right around flat. Let's see, what was TLT? Yeah, that's right, down 17 basis points. But you could see TLT did come back from the lows. We took out this version point of control. And again, these version point of controls are really, have really been important the last couple weeks. But we took one out here and bounced. Note there's two more lower here on the 5-minute bar, but nice bounce there. We're going to keep this video a little bit short because we have a member video today at 5 o'clock, where we'll be going over the MarketWebs. So great for new members if they want to know anything about the MarketWebs, why we use them, why they're so significant, right? So volume at price, those are the boxes that are on my charts. So we do this once a month for members. We go through not only what they are, just as a refresher, and how I use them in my trading every day, and then of course we go over some examples and things that we're watching, especially new month. So we have a new value area for the month, right? You could see that lit up now on my screen. Very similar to last month's value area for the S&P. So what do we have for the day? Well, we know one day is not a trend, but it looks like we did try to go higher. Again, 3-day weekends, they're a bit tricky. A lot of times, sometimes the international markets are open 2 days before the U.S. market comes back online for Tuesday, right? We know that obviously Asia markets, they're open, Sunday night into Monday morning, and then the same thing, then they're open in a whole nother day, and the same thing with Europe, which was strong today. So that's the reason that you have the gap up. Again, it's always a little bit difficult because you want to be a net, like in my opinion, what I said in the pre-market session that we do every morning at Tribeca Trade Group. I said, hey, I'm not long a boatload of positions, but I'm going to be looking to be a seller into this morning's strength. And then we had an ISM report at 10 o'clock. I figured then we might actually get a little bit of bumpy price action, and then you can kind of reassess. But it just is what it is. The majority of the moves happen in the overnight market, right? There was a nice tweet out about that by Zero Hedge about a week ago. I put that article in the trading room, about why so much of the moves happen in the overnight market. And it's a good example. Again, it's not every single night, but another example, right? The whole move in the indices was made in that overnight session. So, that's why, again, I'm more of a swing trader, because you have to be long the you have to have exposure in the overnight market, because that's where the alpha is generated, right, over time, right? And you can look at any study. There's various studies that are put out. Sentiment Trader puts that out probably once every 6 months. But if you're not familiar with this, you could just Google overnight move versus intraday move. A lot more money is made when you buy the close and sell the open, versus the other way around, right? It's harder for day traders. Now, again, it's different. That's not, the indices aren't the only things going on. Obviously there's a lot of move in single stocks, but you had to be really quick. We could kind of tell what kind of day that we were going to get today, because crude was up big. going into Tuesday morning, and a lot of these energy areas of the market. Now they did run a little bit, but it's tough when you have to decide, hey, that this stuff is up 2 or 3% to start. Do you want to chase a 2 or 3% move? Right? If you made that decision today and you said yes right in the beginning of the day, or even bought some of the pre-market, you got rewarded for it. Right? But you had to chase, right? So you had to make up your mind to say, hey, I'm going to chase this move, right? And here's what XOP did over the session. Again, I think XOP is the easier one. That's the ETF that has the most volatility to it normally, because it's equally weighted, right? So it moves a little bit more than XLE, which is market cap weighted, which still was up 3.8%. But again, you had to be quick. You had to make that decision. Names, and if you go back to our template here, you could see that that was the best performing group. XOP was up 6.7%, OIH 4.8%, and XLE 3.9%. Then, of course, a lot of the metals and mining also did very well today. So a lot of energy, metals and mining, material. Certainly a value tilt for the day in those particular areas of the market. Now, it wasn't everything in value. You still have the semiconductors and a couple other areas in value. You could see, for example, healthcare was down 1.6% for the day. So, it wasn't everything value today. It just was more of your energy, materials, and your mining names. And you could see for the day, the value ETF was just up 10 basis points, right, which did outperform the growth just by a little bit, right? But again, you got to remember, different sectors make up. There's various different sectors that make up these areas. So that's so I could go through and tell you where we saw some decent call activity. But again, it's, the call activity, you have to be a little bit careful with this stuff and take it with a grain of salt, right? A lot of times the, where we see call activity, it's kind of a catch up and they're chasing momentum, right? So, I think people want to be positioned when they see an up 3% move and maybe a breakout of some areas. They say, geez, I'm underweight energy. I need to get some exposure in energy, right? So it's not that I don't really classify, a lot of the flow that we saw today in energy, for example, as smart money. Right, they're behind the ball. They don't, these guys don't have much exposure, including myself. I don't have much exposure. I've got a couple of positions on in the TTG Trend Portfolio, such as Gunner, GUNR. Right, I've held this now for a little while, which is a combination of materials and energy names. This is the Global Upstream Natural Resources ETF, up about 2% for the day. But so you have to kind of say, do you think these names are going to continue to break out? Now let's go back to the XOP Energy ETF. Now the whole group, and you can see the nice volume on this. This is just day one, right? My philosophy is I tend to chase a little bit if it's the first day of the move, first day of the breakout. So you could kind of say, okay, well, where were they buying? Where were they positioning in calls? I saw BP, and you could see BP hasn't even really officially broken out yet, so it's actually trailing the group a little bit. And you can zoom out a little bit, but things like MRO saw calls today, Marathon Oil, which is only a $13 stock. Again, first day. But again, tricky, right? It's not like these things were up like 2% and you don't feel too bad about chasing something up 2%. These things gapped up and they went, right? And Marathon ended up 13% for the day. Oxy was another one. Oxy, again, not a bad, you have to kind of maybe cover up the percent change and say, hey, wait a minute, this is the first day that this thing has gotten going. Right, so that's Oxy. We also saw at the end of the day some Holly Frontier calls go up, which is a little bit. I'm not in love with this chart. I think the other ones that I've showed you are a little bit better, but that was where the call buying, some of the call buying was today, and then also in international areas. So let's first look at emerging markets, right? Big move by emerging markets. Now, again, this stuff there's always gaps with emerging market ETFs like FXI or EEM because the majority of the stuff trades overnight, right? They hold a lot of local shares, so you're not going to see this doesn't trade, in the overnight market, right? It trades U.S. hours, so it has to adjust for that whatever the international markets did overnight, and it gaps up, right? So I would not get fixated on, oh geez, look at all these gaps that have to be filled, or why is this so gappy? It's because it only trades U.S. hours, and the majority of the securities that it holds are trading while the U.S. market is closed, right? So it's always a catch up, right? And that's why you see the gap up. But yeah, just looking at this, it looks like we're headed to that VPOC up at 56.47. And then if you want to look at what names, now this is kind of different. We really haven't seen too much call buying going up in various different China names, as well as some of the other international names. But PDD, all kinds of call buying. And, it's nice because we have our indicator, right? Now, we saw call buying all into this. But and we saw some call positioning last week in this one too. But I knew that this VPOC was up here, right around 140, and I'm like, well, if the thing's at 136, I may not be enough for me to chase, because I know I'm going to have to take it off at this 1 hour VPOC, right, which is where we stalled. Now, for tomorrow, if it can get back above that, then you know that you've got some nice strength in this name, PDD. Right, and overall, you could use the stop of 200-day moving average or that 1 hour VPOC that I just mentioned. Another name that saw a boatload of call activity, I did take this name at the end of the day. This is VIPS. Again, a tough looking chart, so kind of a counter trend trade for me. I don't take a lot of counter trend trades, when a name's underneath the 200-day moving average. But we know this one's gotten really beaten up on the Archegos disaster that happened a couple months ago. So, perhaps this is going to start to see a little bit positioning into it. Certainly saw that in option activity today. SE, which this is, a long-time favorite of mine. I'm in this thing, right? So it was a little bit volatile today, like everything else, started to go lower on the open, but hung in there okay. So for now, I'm long this name. Again, it's one of my favorite names, and there was a lot of call positioning in this thing today. There was a few others that saw call activity. Baidu, right? So again, try, if you want to keep it simple here, you could use the 200-day moving average or the top of value, which is 196, as your stop price. Right, I would use that personally, 196, rather than the 200-day moving average, because I think that's a little bit too far down. You're looking at a 10% stop price if you're going to use that. As long as you position for it correctly. All right, so that's really where the option activity was today, and then just in a whole bunch of other little areas of the market. Another area of strength that I thought was interesting was the auto parts group. Look at this Tenneco. Right, up big today, up 19%. But obviously, there's a lot of names within this group. I know there's not an ETF, I don't believe, for just car parts, but the whole group was very strong. One name that I like, which was pointed out in the trading room, is GPC. I did not put on anything in this one, but it's something that to watch. AAP also had a nice day. BWA is also a really nice looking chart. This is Borg Warner. This is a name that we've seen action in this name before in terms of speculative call activity. Not today. I didn't see any. Another one too is Lear, which is also breaking out. So again, there's definitely some areas of the market that were of interest today. Again, I know that there's so many retail traders that have gotten so fixated on growth stocks. But there was a lot of opportunity, particularly in the small caps, right? And I know AMC, which gets enough press coverage, so I don't need to go over that one. But yeah, Chinese internet's up 4% for the day. Steel up 3.6%. Nucor, which saw some positioning, and not yesterday, but Friday. Big move. If you took those calls, congratulations. I looked at them on Friday, and stupid me, I did not take them. I said, hey, I'll just kind of look at this thing on Tuesday, and it really got off to the races. This, by the way, was a really nice trending day. Right, so this is something that you could have chased a little bit, and it just continued to grind higher throughout the day. So congrats if you had that one. For me, it just looked like I just kind of missed a few names, but hey, that's okay. I did take some targets on the open, right? So here's SE, and then I kind of flip flop with trades, probably driving some members crazy. But I didn't want to chase GS on the open. This was one of my stocks. This came from the weekend watch list. Really nice move. I just didn't want to chase this. I don't like to chase Goldman Sachs up 2%. So I went into some Berkshire, and I did not get the move off of Berkshire that I was looking for. I think it looks fine, but I think you just got to be a little bit more patient with it. So I took one target in this trade, and then I took the balance off. I tried ATQ. Again, I tried to be cute in a couple names today. I wound up putting Goldman on. By the way, it pulled back a little bit from the highs of the day, and I substituted. So I did a few substitutions today. I traded a little bit of Snap too, which I just gave up a little bit today on some names, and just substituted in and out of some things. So it's like I said, the gap up days are always a bit tricky. I could have stayed with this one because it's closed on the highs of the day. Where'd I get out of this one? 63.20 or something. 63.15. So like small day trade winner for me. Again, I was just trying to get myself aligned with what names that I wanted to be in. Couple names that I took some profits in. OLN. I've held this one now for a couple weeks. Got long on the break higher here. And I was content. This thing closed also on the highs of the day, but nice looking trend there. I also got a target in JCI. Good thing I took that right around the open because it pulled back some. All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Like I said, we'll try to keep. I'm keeping this video a little bit short because we have a member webinar coming up here in about 20 minutes. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.